All right, so this video will be about hyssop. That is Hyssap. Now, I didn't read much into it, aside from hearing it mentioned in the Bible a few times, and I'm not sure if it's native to just Israel and over there, or if we have it around here. Maybe somebody could put in the comments whether you have access to it in either Canada or the States, if we have hyssop over here. Now, you may ask, what is hyssop? Well, hyssop is a plant that the Levitical priests used to treat leprosy and all sorts of other diseases. And they would, of course, God would heal, as you know, through the priests, but they would use hyssop as medicine. So it's a medicinal herb, and they would use it, and it makes quite a bit of an appearance in Scripture. So not only did the Levitical priests use it when they were cleansing leprosy and helping people that were sick, hyssop was also in Egypt when the Israelites were, enslaved, and it was during the plagues that Moses had, that God was sending, is they had the lamb's blood, which is where they would take a spotless lamb, no blemishes, and they would sacrifice it. And they would take the blood and put it in a bowl. And they would take the hyssop branches and they would dip it in the blood, and they would put it on the posts of each door, on each side and one on top. And they were told that, and they were also told to cook the sheep or goats. I think you could, but it's more of a reference. I want to concentrate more on the sheep, but I think they could use goats too. But we're just going to concentrate on the sheeps. So they would put on the door, and then they would have to eat the whole sheep. I guess they would cook it, what's left of it, and then they would consume it. And this is the Passover, I believe, is what it's called. And that's why they have the Passover, is I believe, I'm not really much into the Jewish, stuff there, but I believe they have it to celebrate this Passover, is what they have Passover for, is a celebration of it. And Israel, I believe, celebrates it too. So they would dip the hyssop in lamb's blood, and they would put it on the door frames. And then when God sent the angel of death over Egypt to strike the firstborn of the Egyptians, because that was one of the curses, one of the plagues, they would pass over the Israelites' homes, and they would not be touched because they had the lamb's blood on the posts. So it was a way of fulfilling part of God's covenant, which is what he said, is do that. And in faith, they put it on there. And then, as you see, I'm making a gesture of how they put it on. But they did this, and when the angel of death came through, he had seen the blood on the doors and knew that these people are protected by the blood of the Lamb, which they had on the doors. And angel of death said, I will pass over. And so he would pass over the house, and they were untouched. But the ones that didn't have the blood, the Egyptians, their firstborn children would die, which was not really, I don't even think it just targeted the firstborn sons, although it says that. I think it would have been whatever's firstborn. Some people were firstborn and they only had girls. What if your firstborn, anyways, it said the firstborn would be struck down by the angel of death and die. So that included all of them. And this came to pass, and even Pharaoh's, I believe Pharaoh had a firstborn, his was struck down. I'm not sure if he did or not, but it's been a while since I read that passage. I'll have to re-go over it again and read it, but I'm not sure if Pharaoh lost his, but I think he did. One of his firstborns, because every Egyptian did. So basically what I'm talking about is hyssop is a plant, and it's almost like, I guess it would be a bush or a tree, is what I'm going to guess. Something like that. And it grows and is a lot of healing purposes and stuff, as I stated earlier. And the conclusion I want to draw for you here is, the thing is, as Jesus was on the cross, as we know his sacrifice, it says we will just simply close our eyes. We will not feel the sting of death. Death will, stupid horsefly. Anyways, death will pass over us when we, die, because death is temporary, and we won't feel the sting of death, it says in the scriptures. And so as Jesus hung on the cross and was dying, before he died, they took the sponge, freaking horseflies all over here, anyways, and they soaked it in the vinegar, as we know, because that's what they would do. They would give you a sponge soaked in vinegar for, hanging on the cross, because give you a drink, and it was a way of torturing you. And vinegar would make you more thirsty. It's almost like drinking salt water. So not only would it be very bitter, if you did manage to swallow, it would make your stomach stuff very upset and burn, but also it was not good for you. Like, it'd make you more thirsty. Now, if you went ahead and drank salt water, same thing would happen. It would feel good for the moment, but it would make you sick and would dehydrate you even faster. So, that's one thing there. And what I want to point to the reference is, what did they put it on, right? It said they took a hyssop branch, put the sponge on it, raised it up to Jesus Christ's mouth, and he drank of it, and when he had, it said he passed. He died. He gave up the ghost and died, or gave up the spirit and died. There's numerous references to that, and it depends on which version you read. I believe the King James version says ghost, and in other ones it says spirit. But it depends on which version of the Bible you read, whether it's New Living Translation, King James Version, the NASB. But they all have different word for it. But basically, he gave up his life and died. Now, what I want to make reference is, when they raised it up there, the hyssop branch touched the blood of the spotless lamb. See? So, not only did they do it in the Old Testament to protect themselves from the angel of death as it passed over them, but this hyssop branch touched the innocent, blameless blood of the lamb, and his blood saves us from death and eternal separation. So you see, that is a correlation of the exact same that, crosses over. I wanted to show you that. Another little reference there is, you can find these little details, and as you read more, and I even do, I want to learn more. Like, I get curious about this. Like, I'll use Siri once in a while, and I will, ask stuff of it, and it'll bring up references, and I'll take those references that pop up, the verses, and I will read them in my Bible, or I'll cross-reference what they say and see how they line up with Scripture. That's just one of the things I wanted to share. And it was just really interesting that in the Old Testament, that spared the Israelites, but also when it touched his blood, his sacrifice saved us from death. And when we die, the angel of death passes over us, and we're saved. Now, yes, our body still dies, but it says we don't feel the sting of it, meaning we don't have eternal separation if you're born again and saved by Jesus. You die, but when your eyes close, you open them, and you're in heaven. You're before Jesus, is what I believe it says in the Scripture, because I think a lot of people say it is absent from the body, present with the Lord. So I truly believe that. I believe that when we die, we are ferried to heaven if you're a believer, and we are before Jesus and God, and we see them, and we're in heaven. I also believe that when you die and you're not saved, you go to hell, which is where you sit. And I believe you are tormented as well, and until Judgment Day, because a lot of people don't realize that, is that, yes, you die in your sin, you go to hell being tortured in your torment, and then it's when he brings everybody to stand before the white throne is when you go into the lake of fire. But until then, you are in hell being tormented for the way you lived your life. And you can read that numerous times in Scripture. It says their hollers and screams echo up to the heavens from there. And also for people that say, oh, that's not true. Even atheists are proving it, because they believe they found the tunnel, right? Some long tunnel underground they made or something. And they said, and when they dropped the microphone down, you could hear screams. And some people believed it was they found potentially a portal that leads to hell, which I just think is absolute ludicrous, but because you can't go there. Like, nobody can go to hell and leave. The only one that I believe did that was Jesus. And that's because he went down there to take the keys of death and hell, it said, and then he went back up to heaven. So I believe he's the only one that's gone there and left. Once you're there, I'm sorry to say, sorry my Catholic friends, there's no purgatory, and when you die, you go to hell if you're not born again, and there ain't no getting out of it. I'm sorry, my Catholic friends, I have to put that there. So, I'm sorry about that if you're Catholic and you don't like that. Guess what? It's the gospel truth, and it's in the scriptures. So, I can't, I said I would be, stating the truth on here, and that's that. And that's not a jab at Catholics. I'm just saying it says in the scriptures. So, take that as it is. Anyways, I wanted to share how the Hyssop branch played that pivotal role and how it just cross-referenced between the Old and the New Testament. So, I'll leave the video off here, and if I discover any more little nuggets, I will share them with you in videos. But other than that, this is a voice in the wilderness, soldier and bondservant of Christ, signing off on a beautiful day. So, whenever you watch this, whether it's day or night, have a blessed day or night, and just stay safe in these dark and crazy times, and just keep your eyes to the sky and your face to the cross. Have a blessed day. Amen.